Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we have a early impression video and we're going to do a review of a Mancera. I know how much you guys love it when I review Mancera fragrances. So first I have to give a shout out to Emery. Emery is a chap who owns a decanter service in Paris. He does ship worldwide. So if you want to get little decants instead of going for the full bottles, he's somebody that has been reliable so far. What he sent me hasn't leaked or anything like that. And everything seems legit. His website is Amaru Paris, A-M-A-R-U. There it is right there. And I'll put it in the description as well. AmaruParis.fr. So you go there, you can make your order. He'll ship worldwide. And so he sent me some of these to discuss on the channel. So thank you, Emery. It's very kind of you, mate. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Mancera's Tonka Cola. He did spell Mancera. But that's okay. We'll only dock 1 point off for his misspelling. So Tonka Cola came out in 2022, and it's been a little bit of a hype beast. So I will tell you right now, where you're going to sit on this review depends on where you sit in the fragrance community. So for example, the other day I reviewed this. Jaceda's Titanium, one of the worst things I've ever smelled in my life. Honestly, one of the worst fragrances of all. And there were some people that took some serious offense to that review. And so if your gut response to me bashing that fragrance is to say, oh, bro, this guy can't be trusted. I get compliments from chicks all the time about Titanium. You're not going to like this review from Mancera, okay? Because the reality is this is bad. This is shite. It's not good at all. I would say that if you're the type of person that judges whether a fragrance is good or bad based on if a chick gives you a compliment, then these type of brands are for you, okay? My opinion. These are the brands you want to probably go for. The Manceras, the Jacedas, stuff like that. However, if you are somebody who wears fragrance for yourself, okay? You wear it for yourself. This will seem slightly juvenile to you. And we're going to get into kind of my thoughts and my 2 cents. I actually have gone the extra step of putting some actual tonka bean, which I have right here, thanks to my good friend Russian Adam, put some real tonka bean on a blotter, and I've been smelling this all day. And man, I can tell you what, real tonka bean on its own is beautiful. But we'll talk about kind of where this fragrance sits and the pros and the cons. But first, we have a surprise unboxing. So thanks to, I don't know if these lovely ladies would like to be named. So I'm not gonna, well, one of them I know I can name. The other one, I don't remember if she wanted to stay, anonymous or not. But she did write my name as the illustrious Mr. Ramsey, which sounds kind of like a Penhaligon's bottle, does it not? With those stupid little caps with the elephant and all that stuff. The illustrious Mr. Ramsey. I like that. Okay, so let me open this bad boy. Let's see here. So to my perfume god person, you know exactly who you are. My perfume god woman, thank you. Thank you very much. So let's see what she sent me. So, here's what we have. We have this. What is this, you ask? I don't know. Let us find out. Let us find out together. Okay. Ah, yes, that's right. I remember now. She sent me the new Estee Lauder collection that Frederick Malle worked on. So these are the, I forgot what they call these, but the Estee Lauder collection. Maybe it's just the Estee Lauder collection. But there is Azuree, which is the new redone Azuree. Azuree is, in its vintage form, is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. This is one of the greatest perfumes ever made. And this goes back to kind of what I'm talking about. If you're someone who knows about vintage perfume and you're into the art of perfumery, the Manceras, the Jacedas are going to be shite to you. They just will. And this will probably be much more your alley to go hunt down some of these older vintage bottles. But she said, hey, have you smelled the new... Frederick Malle worked with Estee Lauder to kind of reissue some of these older Estee Lauder. So we have Azuree, we have, let's see, Okay, I see Azuree. We have Estee. We have Private Collection, which is one of my favorite. The Vintage Private Collection is one of my favorite green fragrances of all time. This right here, especially this, this is a pure fragrance spray. This right here is one of the greatest green. Oh my God. It is so, so good. If you're into green fragrances, Vintage Private Collection is definitely worth a sniff. So we've got Knowing, which again, one of the greatest chypres out there. If you just want to get a sort of, oh, let's see, where are you, Knowing? Knowing is not wanting to make itself known. Okay, I'll have to find it later. It is not where it's supposed to be. It is not where it's supposed to be. Ah, here it is. Okay, so here's Knowing, the vintage Knowing, which was done by Ellie Roger, I believe, was the perfumer. And this is an amazing chypre. If you're into complex chypres, Knowing is fantastic. So I'll be interested to see what these remakes are. And then there's also White Linen, which I've never smelled White Linen. So, but this would make a hell of a live stream. Maybe like a comparison with the originals. I don't have enough skin. I never have enough skin. That's why I need that hot assistant one day. But yes, thank you. Thank you to my perfume god person for this very kind discovery set. So, and then there's one more, which this one is from Allie. And you know, Allie is my, she's my Amouage sugar mama, if you will. She makes it seem like I can still buy things, even though I can't, because these are gifts. These are not purchases. These are gifts. And so very, very kind of her to continue to grow my Amouage collection. So, let me open this bad boy. Very well packaged. A package inside of a package. Okay. Okay. Let's open the package, shall we? Aha! So, we are going in a completely different direction. No more Amouages. This bad boy, or bad girl, I should say, is Fiji. How about that? Vintage Guy Laroche Fiji. 115 mils. Copyright Parfums Guy Laroche 1981. How's that for a copyright? Beautiful stuff. Let's open her up. I've never actually held a bottle of Guy Laroche before. Well, of Guy Laroche Fiji, I should say. Oh, wow. It is a splash. It's a splish, too. Look at that. I gotta be careful with this. Does it untwist? How do you work? Aha, it is. It's a twist. Beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Allie. That's very kind. Very, very kind of you. She sent me some samples, I believe, of different versions of Fiji. So, yes, we will be talking about it on the channel one of these days. It's all about time and, you know, having the time to do these type of reviews. If you're not familiar with Fiji, Fiji it was created by, let's see here, Fidji. So this is the Eau de Toilette. So the Eau de Toilette came out in 2003, it looks like. This says 1981, though. That can't be right. There has to be maybe there's a vintage Fiji Eau de Toilette. Okay, here we go. So there's a Eau de Toilette from 1966. Then they re-released it in 2003 is what happened. So this version from 66 is discontinued, and then they re-released it in 2003. So it's a green floral chypre. In the 60s, there was kind of a little bit of I would say, a little bit of a war between what was going on with Fiji and what was going on with this. which was YSLY. So these two were kind of huge competitors, and they played in a very similar sandbox. Both complex chypres that had amazing floral notes, amazing green touches. They were almost like the precursor to what came in the 1970s. So, for example, something like Private Collection from the 1970s was heavily inspired by what was done at YSL with YSLY and Fiji. So these two were hugely influential fragrances. They're definitely going to get Vintage Hall of Fame reviews. Even though they are marketed towards women, I have no problem wearing these type of fragrances. In fact, I think they smell amazing on a man who has the intestinal fortitude to wear something like that. There's really no gender in perfumery. There's a lot of articles and there's probably some good YouTube videos out there talking about how gender is very fluid in perfume. Sometimes a certain note leans feminine depending on the time period. Sometimes it leans masculine. So thank you. Thank you very much for that, Allie. That's an amazing gift. You are way, way too kind, my friend. So thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Mancera's Tonka Cola. So the first myth that must be dispelled before we go any further is that if you go to Parfumo and you pull up Tonka Cola, the very first comparison, and I've heard some people compare it to this as well in YouTube videos, and I'm like, what? They're out of their damn mind. Is some say Tonka Cola smells like Roja's Creation E, or they also call this Enigma Parfum. Pour Homme. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? The only comparison you could ever make is that this has a cola smell in the opening, and Tonka Cola actually says cola in the name. I don't really get too much cola from Tonka Cola. We'll talk a little bit about that. I get a lot of Tonka from Tonka Cola, but it smells nothing like. I would never even think about this. If I didn't know people were making comparisons to Roja, first of all, the Roja's 100 times better in quality, in my opinion. But the smell, they smell nothing alike. They're on completely different playing fields. The Roja does use a lot of vanilla in the base, but much more vanillic heavy in the base to me than Tonka heavy, okay? So that's the first myth that has to be dispelled, okay? So absolutely no comparison between the two. And I would take the Roja all day and twice on Sunday. Now, the Cola Accord in Creation E, if you've ever smelled the Cola Accord in Creation E, I've done a comparison video between the Pure Parfum and the Parfum Cologne. Roja issued a line of what he called Parfum Colognes, which were basically eau de parfum concentrations, but they were cheaper than the Pure Parfums. You got more juice. I think you got 100 mils instead of 50 mils, and they were cheaper, right? And I did a comparison video between the two. And the Parfum Cologne literally smelled like you were smelling like Diet Cherry Pepsi Light, right? And this has more of like a actual cherry Pepsi feel, but the Roja is high quality. It smells very sprightly and fizzy, almost like you can smell the fizz. Have you ever gone to like a soda machine? You got the soda and you didn't wait for the bubbles to kind of go down after getting it from the dispenser, and you took a sip right away and that fizz almost like felt like it went up your nose. Have you ever had that happen? That's how the fizziness of this opens up. It's so natural and beautiful, and then you mix it with the boozy cognac and all that other stuff, and it's just an amazing fragrance. I love wearing this. Especially in the cooler weather, it really does shine. Now, Tonka Cola for me opens up completely different. It opens up with just a blast of synthetic citruses and this heavy Tonka feel, okay? But not the natural smelling Tonka feel. It smells very synthetic and extremely sweet from the beginning, okay? A sweet gourmand like Tonka, but the lemon that they use, I really don't like many of the openings of the Mancera fragrances, because a lot of the citruses used smell very scratchy and cheap and almost candle-like cheapness. Like, this is what I would expect like a Glade plug-in to smell like in the beginning of the fragrance. Now, it does get better, but it doesn't get as much better as you would kind of expect it to get as time goes on. With a proper dry down, it doesn't improve as much as I had hoped. So I've had a chance to test this a couple times. I'm wearing it as my scent of the day today. I have about a 7-hour dry down right here, and I have about an hour dry down right here. So I just did a fresh spray before the video here a little bit ago. maybe it's only about 30 or 45 minutes old, but I've got a spray I did right before I started the video here. And so with the Mancera, what you get is that extremely scratchy Sicilian lemon, is what they say, Sicilian lemon. But it comes off very cheap smelling. And, you know, it feels like you're smelling like the lemon, like, have you ever had like a fake, like a lemon, like a piece of like lemon cake or something, and they're trying to recreate that lemon type taste, and you can tell that it's some sort of a you know, like you're buying like a little Debbie snack or something, right? And they're trying to recreate this lemon like cake, and obviously they've used a ton of synthetic type materials to make it. That's how Mancera's Sicilian lemon note opens in Tonka Cola. And the Tonka and black cherry, and I think the reason that Parfumo and some folks started to compare it to this is it does this Roja does have a little bit of this like cherry almost feel to it, right? But in Tonka Cola, the cherry mixing with the Tonka almost comes across as if you're literally smelling like the syrup before it gets put into the drink machine. So if anyone ever worked at a restaurant and you had to like refill those dispensary machines, I've never actually worked at one, but I've kind of seen it done. And, you know, that hard simple syrup, whatever they call it, that, you know, you have one for Coke, you have one for Pepsi, you have one for Sprite, and the machine mixes it together with the water to give the dispenser drink, right? This is like smelling the sludge of the cola before it's actually mixed with the dispensary and mixed with the water to give you the drink. You don't get any of that beautiful fizziness. You don't get the high quality citruses like you do in the Roja. It smells very, very cheap in the beginning, very designer. And, you know, if you made me make a comparison, if you really twisted my arm, I think Parfumo should take down the comparison to the Roja, and I think they should put up these Tonka heavy fragrances, something like Feve Delicieuse by Dior or Tonka Imperiale. Now, if you made me pick one, hands down, I think Tonka Imperiale is the better Tonka fragrance, if you will. I think it much more highlights the aspects of Tonka that I think make it most interesting. But again, much higher quality than the Mancera. Even the Dior, which I have bashed and I have not been too kind to, I think I would probably wear Feve Delicieuse over Tonka Imperiale. And so what ends up happening is it smells like Mancera's knockoff version of Tonka Imperiale, or let's say Feve Delicieuse, but again, without the higher quality notes, right? So Tonka Imperiale starts giving off this kind of steamy, almost like you're walking past a bread, like a donut shop or a bread maker shop early in the morning when they're actually cooking the bread before they open up, and you can smell it coming from the fireplace and all that stuff, right? Just imagine walking in a quaint little town in Europe and you walk by some small bakery and you can smell this almost like you're opening up a dinner roll and you have the steam coming out, and it's just fresh and hot, and there's a little bit of a bread feel to Tonka Imperiale in the dry down, but there's also a little bit of a tobacco feel. What's interesting is Tonka is so commonly mixed with tobacco that Tonka Cola, even though there's no tobacco in here, it starts to give off almost like a phantom tobacco note, like you can smell it in here. There's no tobacco listed, but it starts to give off this very designer, sweet tobacco-like smell mixed with the Tonka, okay? And it smells extremely synthetic to me. And I think that basically what they're trying to do here, because remember, Mancera, if you go click on Mancera, on Parfumo, there are something like 55 fragrances that have been released since the house came out. I mean, it's a lot of perfumes. Mancera has put out a ton of fragrances since 2008, and they put them out hot and heavy, okay? And that doesn't even count the stuff from Montal, which they feel like they've also done 50 or 60 fragrances, so probably over 100 fragrances when you combine both the sister houses of Montal and Mancera. Over 100 fragrances is what it feels like, probably more. And so they are really good at kind of trying to spot trends and jump on it. And so that black cherry note, you know, and if you've ever had proper black cherries, fresh. Costco will sometimes have it, depending on the season. But sometimes cherry can give off also a little bit of like a fruity, dark. Imagine like the dark juice dripping from the cherry, that fresh, natural cherry smell. Sometimes cherry goes really well with almond. There is this almondy aspect here, but I think that what Mancera is trying to do is they're trying to kind of throw in their hat into the cherry arena, which took off after Tom Ford released Lost Cherry, which basically this Emery guy sent me a decant of Lost Cherry as well. I've never smelled Lost Cherry, but I do have a decant. But because of the popularity of Lost Cherry, thanks to Tom Ford in 2018, the cherry trend has exploded. They've released now other cherry fragrances, Tom Ford has, and electric cherry and cherry smoke and all this other stuff. And my issue is that the cherry note here, it just isn't done very well. Again, it gives off that almost synthetic candle-like fruit sweetness. Almost like, imagine like the fruitiness in some cherry flavored like gummy candies. That's kind of what the cherry note feels like to me in here. Like a Swedish fish, right? Have you ever had Swedish fish? Something like that cherried, the red Swedish fish, that gummy cherried feel. That's what the texture of the fragrance feels like. And if you just imagine it offset against that sludge of the liquid from the cola that I was discussing earlier, that is the fragrance. I mean, and what's crazy is if you take the name Tonka Cola, I think this has probably been a good seller for them because I actually really love cola fragrances. There were some, I was chasing cola fragrances for a while, and so when I saw this cola note, I was actually pretty interested. But very quickly, my interest waned once I had a chance to smell it. And sometimes it's the top of some of these Manceras are a little bit rough, but as they then dry down, sometimes they become more cohesive and they seem to make more sense. And unfortunately, Tonka Cola just kind of turns into what I would call like an anime version of Tonka. And so what I did is, like I said, I actually took an actual real Tonka on the blotter and comparing it. You know what? This is a million times better than the Mancera. The real Tonka smells creamy, earthy, nutty, and there's this underlying warmth to it, but it almost smells like you're also smelling the bark from the tree that the Tonka is harvested in, right? This smells like derivative, synthetic coumarin, very sweet, extremely sweetened. Like you took that Tonka bean and you just dashed it in sugar and sweetness, and extremely synthetic. I mean, I understand why, for somebody who makes their decisions on perfume as far as like which girl's going to give me a compliment, how something like Tonka Cola could be a hit. As it dries down, I think it starts to smell like a gourmand sort of version of imagine like if Tonka was a drink, right? So forget about the cola. Imagine if you were literally drinking Tonka and you added spices and this sort of heavy, see how heavy it is in there? Imagine that. That's the liquid sort of imagery that I want you to think about when you imagine Tonka Cola if you've never smelled it. There is a little bit of an almond twist to it. And the almond nuttiness is probably coming directly from the Tonka. Tonka can sometimes give it this nutty feel. So just imagine that candle-like synthetic cherry with that extremely scratchy bergamot, that liquid-like fluid before the cola goes into the machine, and then it dries down into something that is extremely boring, which is just basically a very generic synthetic sweetened Tonka. By a couple hours, all of the stuff that makes the scent interesting, the scratchy citruses, the cherry, all of the stuff I was discussing slowly begins to go away, and you're left with this patchouli generic derivative thing of patchouli and Tonka. So for me, especially due to the fact that it smells so synthetic, and due to the fact that I already own what I would consider two of the better Tonka. And I didn't even mention one of my favorite Tonkas to wear that doesn't get any love. If you guys want a Tonka bean fragrance that is not Feve Delicieuse or Tonka Imperiale, that I think is a million times better than Mancera's Tonka Cola, check this out. You can find these at discounters sometimes. This is Robert Graham's Fortitude, this is called. Fortitude is an amazing, like if you want a well done sweetened Tonka, this is it. This is a well done spiced Tonka. It doesn't have the, it doesn't have the black cherry note that is kind of the note du jour now that they're trying to put in everything, but that is done so much better to me execution wise than the Mancera. So unfortunately, I was thinking the Mancera might kind of come together into the dry down and start to smell better. To me, it really doesn't. It just kind of, a lot of the stuff around the outside, the ancillary notes kind of fall apart, and you're left with this very derivative Tonka patchouli and maybe a little bit of vanilla and benzoin, just that kind of feel, you know, the warmth of benzoin. And they say there's orange blossom in here. Maybe more orange blossom would have helped bring the fragrance up, but folks that say this is the most realistic cola or the best cola scent on the market, they're out of their minds. And after reviewing some of these mainstream scents, I get the feeling a lot of these reviewers are one of two things. They're either fake as fuck, and they know it's bullshit like I do. Like I could never smell this and then get on here and be like, the greatest cola scent in the world. I can't do it. It's just not in me. So they're either doing that or they're ignorant. And they really don't know what else is out there. They haven't smelled a lot of other fragrances. And so they just kind of go with, they fake it. They do the fake it till they make it. And their fake it till they make it is to just basically go with the greatest cola scent out, the greatest cola gourmand. You know, some of the thumbnails for some of these scents are hilarious. Like if you go watch my video on a scent like the Tonka Cola, or go watch my Jaseda Titanium video, and then go look at the thumbnails of some of these other reviewers. I mean, it's basically turned into a joke. Fragcom has literally turned into a joke. So that's the reason I do these reviews, even though I have a very good feeling about which scents I'm going to like and not like ahead of time. I still do them because I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a counterbalance, right? You can't just have 99% of people saying something is fantastic when in reality, probably there's half of the population that would hate it, right? And our half of the population is usually the hardcore frag heads. I don't think Tonka Cola would play well with the majority of frag heads. That's just my opinion. Now, I am going to do a blind sniff session. So either tonight or tomorrow night, we're going to have a live stream. And our live stream is going to be on Armando's blind sniffs. So in the blind sniff sessions, I don't know what the scents are beforehand. It's my favorite way to kind of test perfume, if you will. I love blind sniffing fragrances because I think it's the best way. You just take everything out of the equation. Take the marketing, take the advertising, take the notes, and just trust your nose and go with what you love. So I love these blind sniff sessions. So we're going to do one of these. I hope you guys can tune in to the live stream if we end up doing it. So as always, do let me know what your thoughts are. If you have a different opinion than I do on Tonka Cola, please put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on, what you like about the scent. But for me, it is a thumbs down. I don't give ratings on a scent, but there's no way I would. If I had the ability to buy more fragrances right now, that wouldn't be nowhere near the list. Nowhere near it. So, as always, thanks for watching, guys. Cheers, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.